Just a couple days ago, players, coaches, and families all around the country were enjoying a Thanksgiving meal with their families. Now, because they had the day off on Thursday, a lot of the prep work for this game had to be done on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then on Friday, it was just about getting back to business and going over the game plan. Now, I think the hope is for the players, a lot of the food that they ate on Thursday is going to be put to good use today. That's evident by the explosive plays we've seen thus far.
So at our number one spot, South Carolina wins the women's basketball championship in a 64-49 victory over UConn. On the very first possession of the game, South Carolina took the lead and they never let it go. Now in the men's basketball championship, the Kansas Jayhawks defeated North Carolina and the Tar Heels in a 72-69 win.
Coach, you guys were down 14 at one point entering half. You guys battled back, you erased that deficit, and ultimately the whole game was just a wild ride. What did you think about this victory?
And that will do it for this edition of TakeOver. We'll be back next week to break down more of the top performers and stories of the week. For Jalen Nicholson-Born, I'm Matt Ellis. We will see you next week. Nets struggled considerably without Durant, finding themselves sitting 8th in the Eastern Conference standings with a 5-16 record without Durant. With the Nets getting healthy and Kyrie Irving returning to home game, can the Nets turn it around and be the dominant team we know they can be? Yeah, I mean, that Broncos news was quite incredible as Russell Wilson is going over to Denver. Now, I'll say this about the Broncos. The one thing it for sure brings is just excitement to Denver. When you bring in a quarterback of his caliber, who's somewhere around that top 10 range coming off of an injury, there's certainly just a lot of hype for Denver. Now, as for their ability to compete in the AFC, it's definitely going to be tough. There's a plethora of good teams, and even teams last year who didn't have this kind of season they wanted to. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC that the Broncos are now going to have to compete with, and it's still a question to say, if they're even the second best team in their division, or, there's also a case that they're the worst team in their division. But for the Broncos, the one thing they did get is hope, and that's one of the most important things that the fan base in Denver really just needs right now.
What should be kind of an exciting matchup between Stout and Whitewater. Now, it is a bit chilly out here. Temperatures should be hanging around in the 50s. The wind shouldn't be too much of a factor, especially because Whitewater likes to keep it on the ground. Hey guys, when you look at the success of this team, a big part of that has to do with them generating turnovers. When we take a look at that game last week against River Falls, Whitewater forced 4 turnovers and took 2 of those takeaways for touchdown drives. A big part of this team is just forcing those turnovers. They lead the WIAC in interceptions with 10, and they've had a takeaway in each of their games. Now, when they lose the turnover battle, that's when Whitewater struggles a little bit. We saw Lacrosse come in here, force 4 fumbles, recovered 3 of them, and had 2 touchdown drives off of those fumbles. So defensively, Whitewater's got to force turnovers and offensively take care of the football.
What does James Harden bring to this team?
I mean, I think James Harden brings a lot to this team. I think the first thing he brings is just scoring. I think he's one of the best scorers in the league. I don't really care about this narrative that he's a lazy, not a hard worker kind of player, but I think Harden's going to bring a lot of offense to his Philadelphia 76ers team.
Matt?
Coach, this was a hard-fought game. Ultimately, you guys came up short. What emotions are you feeling right now?
Took the L, a lot to learn from. We'll grow from it, and we'll find a way to get better and move forward.
You played a WIAC opponent today, and you play a WIAC opponent next week. What's it like to prepare for a WIAC team?
Nothing better. Toughest league in the country. A lot of work to do. Got to be consistent. Got to be disciplined with your preparation. And we'll learn from this game, and we'll take a step and move forward.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Back up to you.
Good evening, and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Matt Ellis alongside Nolan Kopilowski. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At our number 5 sports story of the week, the UW-Whitewater women's basketball team are Final Four bound. The Warhawks clinched the program's 4th trip to the Final Four since.
In this matchup between these two WIAC teams, we got 2 head coaches who are young into their head coaching careers. Jace Rindolph for the Warhawks is in year 1 as the head coach, and on the other sideline is Ryan Muntz, who's in year 2 as head coach of Platteville. Now, Ryan Muntz spent 18 years as the OC of Platteville, and here he is in year 2 as head coach. As a rookie head coach, he went 5-5, and that included a win against these Warhawks, Platteville's first since 2004.
Attacking it one play at a time.
Weesing came in. They really played a tough game against you guys. What do you think about their performance today?
Was not surprised. They're physical up front. We knew they had a good O-line and a good quarterback. We need to do a better job executing on our end, and we'll get those things cleaned up, and we got to be better next week.
Coach, congrats on the win and good luck going forward.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady back in the NFL. I mean, what's new? You got to see the guy. He's been starting in this league for so long, but I think Brady saw the shape of the NFC and thought, why would I not come back? Especially as you said, there's really only 3 teams at the top in the Packers. If you're the Buccaneers, are you really scared of them at this point? But Tom Brady's definitely got some work to do within the NFC still. And that will do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back next week on UWW-TV to talk about more sports headlines. For Nolan Kopidlowski, I'm Matt Ellis. See you next week.